tougher than leather, nigga. I'm tougher than the African kid running barefoot in the gullies, nigga.
What's up, guys? This is the official video tutorial for Boy Boy by G-Unit. So I'm going to take you through a little walkthrough on how this beat kind of came about, where it started, and where I decided to take it, and kind of how it ended up being, you know, a G-Unit joint on their brand new album that came out today, actually yesterday, called Boy Boy, and the EP is called The Beast of G-Unit. And yeah, man, shout to my man Tony G at G-Unit, the whole G-Unit staff, obviously, you know, 50 and all the guys over there. So this joint was co-produced by my man Jake One and G Coop, both, you know, obviously super duper incredible producers and musicians, and you know, it was definitely a pleasure for me to collaborate with them. We definitely got some more stuff coming too, so look out for that. So yeah, man, I guess we'll start off by I just want to kind of show you how this thing started, and where I decided to take it. So basically, it started with G Coop sending me this crazy composition that he put together. I guess you can call it a sample, quote unquote. And he sent it to me along with, you know, some other stuff. And when I heard this one, you know, I immediately knew what I wanted it to be. And the crazy part about it is I knew it would be either a 50 Cent joint or like a G-Unit joint. And so this is one of the few cases where like I sat there and made a beat and like literally knew who I wanted it, you know, who I wanted it to be for. So and it ended up being that way. So that was cool. So I want to start by playing you guys the composition that G Coop made, and I'll kind of like, you know, show you guys what I did to it. So let me solo that and check it out. So this was actually put together and composed by both G Coop and Jake One. So check it out. There it is. So obviously you guys can see there's a lot going on in that. Excuse me. Crazy piece right there. So like, you know, it could be overwhelming to like hear that and like try to wrap your head around like what parts you want to use and what you don't want to use. So obviously, like, you can see that I basically used just like the first part of it, and all the other like really cool shit that happened later I just ended up not even using. So let me mute that. So let me just kind of show you guys kind of how I chop this thing. So if I play the beat here, this is what I used for the intro. And then it goes into the one on there. And that chop is really basic, man. So let me go back to this and I'll go. So the first thing I did, so I do all my chops in Pro Tools. I just love the tab to transient thing, and just like not having to import samples into a different VST and then exporting them, and like if there's like times where I know how I want to chop a sample or a piece of music and I don't have to, you know, drag them into the keyboard and play them on the keyboard, then I'll just do it visually on Pro Tools, which just makes everything easier. So I'll do a chop there. This intro is the same. So that's where the 1 is. So and then that 1, I'll just chop. So essentially it would be that. So I would take this portion, go like that, and then just time stretch it. Oops. Put my time stretch over here. Boom. Done. So you can see that that's basically what the purple is. Okay. Solo that. So it's that. Let's see if I have any effects in there. No. So that's how I did the intro. Nothing crazy. And then the main, stab or whatever is basically the next part. This. And then it repeats. So I guess basically what I did was just do a chop here, copy, and I'll mirror this again. And it was kind of like one of those, time stretch, and then copy paste. Alright, so just solo that. And then obviously, you get into attention to detail here and you clean it up. I like using the little crossfades here to kind of get rid of the clicks. Just do it manually. So give it one of those, You get rid of that little clip. So that was like pretty much the bulk of the chop. And then there's a breakdown later in the song. I'll play here this little thing. It's a cool little breakdown. So that little break is this. I'll solo that. So I did some chopping. So that came from, you go back to the original sample. So I'm pretty sure I took that one. So again, chop, boom, copy, mirror that to show you guys how I did it. So that's kind of how it looks. Obviously it's not going to be exactly the same as I did it, but you can kind of get the gist of how I did this thing. And it was just basically a little time stretch, little copy paste action, clean up action, and then the 1 again. Boom. That was it. So that happens for, I guess that's 2 bars or 4 bars there. 2. And that's pretty much the gist of the chop in terms of like using the original composition, the Jake 1 G Coupe part. And that was really like the driving force of the inspiration for the track. And that's why I love to do, like, I fuck with G Coupe, I fuck with, my man Frank Dukes, Ant-Man Wonder. There's a handful of guys that kind of like make these like quote unquote like samples, and then we kind of like we're starting to like share sounds with each other. And you guys obviously know that I create my own, I guess, samples as well, or just melody compositions. And what I'll do is I'll spend a week just creating sample loops basically and melody ideas, and then what I'll do is I'll do that for a whole week, and then the following week I'll go back and sample myself and make beats out of the compositions I made. So I just love approaching it in that way, because then you really get to maintain that true, like, sample feel of a beat. And my man Cardiac, shout to Cardiac, when he told me he did that, that definitely inspired me to start doing that too, because he told me, like, he would spend like a week just making composition melodies, and then he would go and make beats later on too. I think DJ Khalil does that too. So I just love that approach. Alright, so now that we have the main sample chop, the next thing I did was the drums. So we're gonna take this piece by piece, guys. So the drums were, let me go to my drum kit, battery here. So I basically loaded battery, and in the drums I have a kick, ghost track, my snare, my tam, snare ghost, some little quick hi-hats, and tom drum here, and those are all the drums. So I'll just play the drums on their own. Alright, so let's take it piece by piece here. So I'm going to open up battery. So this is my basic drum kit that I put together for the track. So the kick drum is Kick Drum the Week, which I think you can find in Blapkit volume, I want to say volume 5, I think. So I have it. I have batteries set to unfixed velocity, so that I can get those dynamics there. Then I have my snare drum, which I think might be also Blapkit volume 5. Okay, and if you can look at the volume level here, like, this is usually how I do my drums. Like my kick drums will peak at around -3, and they'll be a lot louder than everything else. And then the snare drums usually live between 6 and 10, -6 and 10. And that, that you can apply that to any DAW, like Fruity Loops, Ableton, whatever you're using. That's a good guide to know where your volume levels are at. And then I have this little, like, smaller snare drum here, which is basically the same snare as here, but I just tuned it up 3. So if you I'll go back to the original, and I tuned it up 3 spots to just give it a little, different texture. And then I have Tambo Funk, which is also, I believe it might be actually Blapkit volume 4, a little tambo hit. And then my little quick hi-hats that happened. So the pattern was basically, I think it was, you know what I mean? So that was, I guess, the basic drum pattern. So what I'll do is I'll just, like, hear a sample, or I'll hear the main melody here, and then I'll kind of, like, I'll experiment with different drum patterns until I hear something that I'm really, fucking with. So if I go, I'll get the click track going, and then just kind of find a groove. I could have done a million things, like, so, like, with this kind of pocket, like, I just knew that it would be, like, something really dynamic but still basic at the same time. So I think the drum pattern I did was perfect for this. So I just basically lay it down in MIDI. So I'll do it right now. It'll be, something like this. Record. So I'll start here. So take that and then I'll quantize it. I have 11% swing here, which is already set, so 11% swing, and then I'll play back. So then what I'll do is, I'm happy with my drum pattern. What I'll do is I'll set my bus out to 1-2, and then I'll record each thing individually. Now this is like, you might think that this is like a hassle or whatever, but like I fuck with this method. Why? Because like I came from the era of using all analog equipment. So I used to have to do this when I was using outboard gear like the ASR-10 stuff. So I love being able to do it in the box. Everything just feels so analog, and there really is something about that kind of gives it, you know, that analog feel. So, you know, I got my kick drum here, so I just solo my kick, bus 1-2. You know, I'll solo that. So I'm basically recording my kick into this audio track here. So, and then I'll just do that for every instrument that I'm using, you know, snare, the tam, all that stuff. So you get an idea of how I print my drums from battery. So let me undo all that shit. Okay, cool. So now that we got our drum pattern here, the next thing that I believe I did was lay down this little sub here. So let me solo that. So I have that sub going on the 1, which is like, I feel like was super crucial. You hear it without it. So the sub really just gives it that bottom that it needed. But it was, you know, tricky to try and like alter and find like the right texture for the sub, and I guess I managed to do it. So, and the actual sub sound was let me delete that fade there. So the actual sub was from a TR-808 machine, and what I did was I recorded a bunch of TR-808 hits, and I also use a Joe Mox M bass to capture my subs, and then I just have a whole collection of them, and then so this was one of them. So you can see the fade that I applied here. Basically just did like a basic, like one of those just real straight on fades here to kind of, you know, take away a little bit of that sustain in the sub. So it really worked out well. And then again, look at my level on my sub. It's not crazy, you know what I'm saying? I got at minus 12.9, and then I have an R bass plugin here. This is like my favorite plugin ever. So let me bypass that. So that's the sub before R bass, and this is the sub with R bass. So you can see what it did. It really like gave it this, I like to call it perceived loudness in the sub. So like I'm gonna bypass that again and take a look at the master fader here and see where it peaks. So you can see the sub is much quieter, and we're peaking at around, I would say that's like minus 14 or 13, right under the yellow. So when I apply my R bass, check it out, I'm still peaking at minus 14, but it's much louder. And so that's a cool little, like, you know, engineer 101 kind of like perceived loudness thing, where you can make things louder without them actually being loud in your DAW. And so basically what R bass does is I can select a frequency. It's basically just like a sharp bell curve going up. So I can select the frequency that I want to increase, and then I adjust my intensity here. So like if I move this around, you'll see texture change. See, I'm hitting different frequencies. So, I figured 59 was a good place to live. Or 57, one of those. Who knows? And then I kept my intensity at 0. I mean, I could have went crazy and went like this, but that just kind of would have just been too overpowering. It took away from it. So I got my sub, which is basically repeating throughout most of the beat. So I got my sub, I got my drum pattern, and then grunts. Oh no, hold on. Forgot to add these toms. So I got these little tom drums here. So I did those in addictive drums. So I got my addictive drums here. Slide those over. Set my output to this one to solo. So this is the massive A patch addictive drums, the real machines. So I just used a couple of these little tom drums here. Made sure they were relatively dry. I didn't want them to have too much reverb. And basically program those in. I ended up doing this. Just little texture complements, you know what I mean? All those little details count, believe it or not. Without, like, the track would sound so much different without those tom drums. So we got our toms, we got our drums, everything is sounding good. And then I added this little grunt here. This little guy. Love that. That's like my signature shit. So that was actually grunt_hose, which I believe you can find on my All Grunts Everything pack, which is limited edition, so you can't get it anymore. Haha. But you can get it if you join the Black Kit Platinum Club, which you just click on the join the club tab, and then you can have access to that kit. So that's the grunt that I used, and you can see here that I basically just there's more in here. Like this grunt it's got like a really long sustain to it, and I basically just cut it off to give it that kind of feel that it was like part of the sample. So listen to it. It's like it's got that real long tail. So it would have just sounded weird if I kept it. You know what I mean? Just too much. So basically just cut it off on the one, and I'd be doing that a lot. That's kind of like my signature thing. It's just little grunts happening every so often, and cutting off real quick. I like making them sound like they're part of the sample or whatever, even though we're not using any samples. So then the next piece are the strings. So this was one of my favorite parts of the beat, was the strings. So I actually used Symphobia to program these strings as kind of like a fill-in, and then I had my man come in and we laid down live string stabs for all the strings. So all these strings are live. So you hear this little tremolo. Got that going. And then I have these huge stabs that happen on the one every so often. Purple. So there's actually reverb on here already, because we when we recorded the snares in, we had a outboard reverb connected to it, so I didn't have to apply the reverb in the box at all. So you can see here the insert is dry because it sounded good already. So there's no need for me to put more reverb on them. They sounded so good. got the breakdown here. You can see like the tams here, the tail of the tam is actually still in there, and like that was actually a mistake. But when I heard it and I did it, I liked it. I liked keeping that. So like, listen to the tam. Those like real small stabs in there, like these guys. These guys, like, you know, technically I didn't mean to do that, but it just went so well. And I think that probably inspired like me doing the repetitive kick thing, because if you listen to it without the kick, right, so it just kind of has that, like, you know, it's telling me that I need to repeat something in that part, and I just kind of went for it. So I just basically like copy and pasted the kicks going through. So like, see here how like originally I had more kicks in there. Like, just those little decisions of like taking certain things out really create, you know, the difference. I mean, I feel like that's where the magic is, when you know, make those little decisions that just like alter the entire mood of the beat. Like if I kept those kick drums, like look how different it would have felt. It wouldn't have had that like swag, you know what I mean? Like, and that could have been a deal breaker right there. So again, you know, all those little details, all these little details just count. So then it goes back into one. So I got this little vocal chop here. It's basically this. Yeah. So that's a royalty-free vocal chop, and I basically just I used pitch shift to just basically tune it to where I wanted it to be. I don't remember where the original was, but pitch-wise, but I remember pitching it to kind of for the actual voice to be in key with the beat. So again, it's just all these little placement decisions make all the difference, and it's nothing super complicated. It's just how well your decision making is when you're creating, you know, when you're creating music. So like I put this here because I wanted it to feel like it was, again, part of the sample. You know what I mean? And it only happens a few times. See here, like, it happens again over here after this second breakdown. And it happens 3 times. You know what I mean? So so then after that part, we did that. That was like the second breakdown part. I knew I wanted to like put something else in there, and nothing like, you know, I'm not like layering it with a million different sounds. It's just like one more sound that made all the difference, and it was my organ here. So solo that. So I basically used Contact for that. My organ track. Over here. Okay, we got my organ. So the patch, the organ patch, was a Contact plugin. Basic rock, vintage organs. I mean, if you have Contact, you have that. You know what I'm saying? So, so I think it was. Yeah, so it was that. So it was basically. Yeah, I'll do it so you can see the keyboard. So I basically just like played it manually. You know what I mean? It was just like. So I believe I recorded that and then used. I'm gonna replay it just so you guys can see how that went down. and then I'll use Verify, which is like my favorite, like one of my favorite plugins in Pro Tools. So it's like basically this is how I did it. I'm just gonna like bust it out, 1, 2. I'm just gonna go for it, no MIDI. Sorry, fucked up. I gotta set this to +1, 2. Let me mute the original and play that out. I might fuck up, but who cares? Okay, here we go. Alright. So I got that. So then you can see in the original it kind of like trails off. It goes kind of like a record stop. So I just basically take that out, select that, go to Verify, and that basically just like slows it down, kind of like a record. So that was basically how I did it. So if you hear the original compared to that, it was basically the same thing. So that was it, and that's how I did the organ. There's no effects on it, no nothing. It sounded good already, so I didn't have to really do much. So that, little organ breakdown happens during the second rollover part. And obviously when the guys recorded it, we did some sequence changes and stuff, but for the most part, I kind of like formatted it with 3 verses here, and that's another thing that I recommend for you guys is just to like format your stuff ready to write to. You don't want the artist or the listener to have to do too much work to alter it. You want to be able to give them a product that's as close to what you envision the final product being as possible. So have your hooks in there, have your pre-hooks and post-hooks, have your verse sections. Make the audio clear enough so that they know what part the verses are and what part the hooks are, and where the bridge is and stuff like that. So I always format my beats as full songs, so you can see here like this is almost 3 minutes. I'm not really into doing like 30-second snippets, 1.5-minute snippets. Like everyone's got their own way, but I like making songs. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of the beat. And again, you guys can see it's nothing too crazy. We don't have a million different tracks going on. It's really just I'm big on every sound that I use. I'm big on making sure that every sound I use is dope. You know what I'm saying? Like there's got to be a place for every sound. And I don't like doing things that are unnecessary, at the end of the day. So a lot of the inspiration really originated from my man G Coop and Jake One. Man, that original composition was just so ill. When I heard it, I immediately knew what I wanted to do with it, and it came out dope. So and another thing too is and this is one approach that I love to take, but when you're creating your beats, you kind of want to envision your beat or your song as like a live band on stage, right? So like when you think about it, when you listen to this beat, you got a guitar player, right? You have debatably, you can throw in a bass player in there. You got the drummer, you got the guy doing the tams, you got the organ guy doing this part, right? You have a singer doing it, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You got the string section, which is, probably 4 to 6 strings, right? So we'll just say five strings layered. So that's 10 people, you know what I mean? That's 10 people on stage performing this thing. So that's just like my weird way of decision making when I'm making music. You know, it's like if I hit a hook part, for example, like why am I going to add a million different synthesizers in there if they're not adding anything relevant to the track? You know what I mean? And trust me, I'm not all about simplicity either. I have stuff that's super complex and lush and layered and stuff, but it's really all just depending on the mood that you're trying to accomplish. So with this particular track, you know, it was just perfect. There was enough in here to make it happen. So yeah, man. Hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial, man. Shout to you know, G Coop and Jake One, and shout to all you guys for checking out the tutorial. We're gonna keep this thing going. I'm gonna do this on a more regular basis. So hit me up anytime. You know, Twitter at llmind_producer. Obviously, you guys are on blapkits.com. We got a lot more exciting things happening in the future. So stay tuned, and I'll check you guys at the next tutorial. All right, peace.
Boy, when your mouth about that shooting, you find out that we've been shooting all along. Boy, you go without that Ruger, we put hot shit through you, then we gone. Boy, don't let me catch you slipping, boy.